including Claire, soon. So support challenge matrix. Oh my word! Like Claire and I just said before the call, we love this tool, and we every time we come back to it, we are like once again enamored with it, and we say, wow, this is so helpful. So we're going to start with a mindset on this, and our mindset from the Bible today is this Bible verse, and it's an exhortation to speak the truth in love. Speak the truth in love. That will be very familiar to you. But I wonder if you can see the aspects of support and challenge inherent in that verse. So, some of us, and if you think about this in relation to ourselves, some of us may prioritize the challenge bit, the truth bit. I'm telling myself the truth. That could have been better, you know. And some of us may prioritize the love bit, you know, particularly with others. You know, actually, I'm loving them in accepting their behavior and in just encouraging them, and I've let that thing go, and that's love. And actually what we need to do is remember to try to calibrate the two aspects of this sentence. You thought it was simple, it's quite complex really, isn't it, as a sentence? There's loads going on there. How do we speak the truth? Are we speaking the truth? It's about 50-50 in the population. 50% of us prioritize relational harmony, and 50% of us prioritize truth and justice. Relational harmony and truth and justice. And what this verse is saying is we need both of those perspectives. So those of us who prioritize relational harmony need to make sure that we are bringing truth and justice to the fore and holding it alongside. And those of us who prioritize truth and justice, I was just telling them the truth, need to make sure we are calibrating harmony as well, making something as palatable, as kind, as gentle as it possibly can be, and yet making it as clear, as direct, and as honest as it can be as well. And if we're not doing either of those things, we're not really liberating others. We're not really liberating our teams or our family or ourselves. So when we then map that on to the support challenge matrix, what we see is when we speak the truth with love, we are liberating others. And what we create there is a culture of empowerment. People are empowered, they're able to grow, they're able to succeed, they're able to bring their own individuality and energy and their competency and agency actually as well to their own growth and opportunity as well. They're able to step into opportunity. Now, there's no judgment here. Every one of us will naturally have an instinct to be in a different quadrant. We'll either have an instinct to be in the protect quadrant with most people or with others, which is where we find support easy. We find it easy to bring lots of kindness and encouragement and love and overlooking things, but we bring low challenge. And when we do that, when we don't give people opportunity to grow, or we're not completely honest, or we don't speak truth, then what we create is actually a culture of entitlement and mistrust. People feel as though they ought to always be encouraged, and they can get very uppity if you then do need to point out something that needs to improve. People can feel aggrieved or hard done by, or how dare they, or but you've been saying I'm amazing for the last few weeks, and now suddenly you're saying I've been getting something wrong for a while. Well, that's the first I've heard. And you may think you've hinted at it before, but they haven't heard it before. And they think, well, how can I trust you now going forward next week when you tell me I'm doing a good job? If actually you've been building this picture up of me that I wasn't aware of. So that can create mistrust. The other way that the protect quadrant creates mistrust is when a person in the team or in the group or in the family isn't being challenged on something that's impacting others, then the others will feel like that's not fair. I am being impacted here by this person's behavior, and you as the leader aren't bringing them any challenge, and so I can't trust you. You're not creating an environment that's healthy for us. So that's how it creates entitlement and mistrust, and I see that played out time and time again in organizations. So we'll either start there with people or ourselves, or we'll tend to start in that dominate quadrant where there's a culture of fear and manipulation, because there's a high challenge. And Jeremy does this really well in the video, doesn't he? He sort of gives an example of how that can feel for people. If you can remember that video, it may have been some time since you looked at it, but you know, that boss that's just straight away giving you things to do as soon as you go into the room, or sending over emails and it's quite abrupt language, you don't feel support comes first, or there's a bit of a warning, or there's a bit of a, this is the second time, third time you've done it, and there's not the support, there's not the structures that you need to be able to grow. And that just means that you are compliant, but you're doing it out of fear, and you're feeling like manipulated. They're holding over you a threat, whether it's said or unsaid. And that's red for blood in the water. It's red because it creates fear. It's high challenge, it's low support, and nobody wants to be there. So those are the two places we tend to start in. When we get stressed and anxious, or if there's a particular breakdown in a relationship, we might move to abdicate. And abdicate's where you're just going, right, that's it. I'm not even going to bring the support I was bringing. I'm not even going to bring the challenge I was bringing. I'm just going to stop. I'm just going, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. You know, send me an email, as Jeremy says, or just sort of do what you like. It doesn't matter. And actually, we think maybe we'd like to not be micromanaged and abdication is fine. But actually, it just creates apathy and low expectation. No one wants to live there. It's grey, it's dead. And that is an indication if we're in abdicate with a particular person, particular team, or even ourselves, that is an indication that we're not healthy and that we do need to seek help and support in that area. So the task was complex. It was to get clear on which of these quadrants you're in with your team, with your family, and with yourself. Okay. And with your team, there may be one team member where you tend to dominate them and one team member where you tend to protect, and the same with your family as well. You know, there may be particular reasons why certain aspects have grown up within a family or within a team, and all of those things. So I hope you've been able to delve in the preparation to this, to give yourself sort of measure where you are in those different aspects and start to think, we'll do that in a minute, but we're going to start to think about how you can move to liberation. Okay, I'm going to stop the share there and come in. There's a bit more to say on it, but I think it's probably time to do a bit of processing in pairs. So, or in a three if you happen to be in a three in your live breakout room. So, Claire, have I missed anything out or anything you want to say before we hop into breakouts?
We were chatting just previously, weren't we? Particularly, I think for myself, it's very easy for challenge to kind of creep into criticism. And so being aware of that, I think, is really important. And it's support and challenge, not sort of praise and criticism, because they are two very different things.
Excellent. I love that point. That's really helpful. Any other questions about this tool before we drop into some chatting? No? Okay. See you on the other side.
I'll hop in with Abby, but for some reason I can't do the timing thing has gone again. So
Oh, don't worry.
I'll just have to keep an eye on it in a thing, if that's all right.
That's fine.
And I'll see if I can reset it when we're out.
Are we still recording or has that gone off?
Yeah, I will. I'll pause.
Thank you. Noelle, can you give me an example of a place that you put yourself and why for a particular aspect?
So I think I'm quite different at work versus at home. So at work, I've noticed I'm not in a management position, but I'm mentoring someone at the moment. And I've noticed that I lean much more towards high support and care and celebration. And I'm less quick to bring challenge. Not that I haven't brought challenge, but I don't think I'm bringing enough. And I think there's two reasons for that. I think one is that I'm not technically their line manager. So I think I'm stepping back a bit because I'm going, well, that's not actually my authority at the moment or my space. And secondly, I think it's just because that is my natural go-to, is to really celebrate and support and encourage. But then I was saying at home, I think sometimes I can go more into dominate a bit. And in both spaces, I think I can come into liberation. But if I'm going somewhere bad, at home, I'm more in dominate, where if I feel emotional about something that's come up, I'm much more like, well, you just sort of need to go sort that out, like to my husband. Go figure that out. And that's actually not supportive at all. And again, I'm not always like that, but I think when emotion comes into it, or if I feel overwhelmed, I can often go into that sort of domination space. So I think I can
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Noelle, that is so interesting because I came to exactly that same thought earlier, was when I do the domination, it's because I'm not liberating myself. That's why I'm not giving myself enough. Excellent, Noelle. So hold that thought. We're going to need that in a bit when we come to core process. Katie, can we hear from you next, please? How did that go? What did you share? Could you share with us an example of where you put yourself for a particular aspect and why?
I think I would, on the surface of it now, having seen the tool, because I didn't get a chance to catch up beforehand with being off, but having seen the tool first time today, I would probably relate a lot with what Noelle was saying. I think I probably very much fall in the category of protect. Also potentially because of my area of discipline, like design and creativity is such a vulnerable space to be in anyway. So critiquing people's creative is quite a difficult thing to take on for them. So you have to really walk a fine line between protect and challenge and that kind of thing when it comes to feedback. So I would say my leaning is probably more protect, but when I'm stressed at the time and I just want something done, I probably get to.
Great. So good to know where you start, where your tendency is to begin, but then also where you go under stress. This is super helpful. Thank you, Katie. Rachel, can we hear from you?
So I was the opposite to Noelle. That like in my home life, I don't bring any challenge much at all. Really, I'm more of a peacemaker. But so that's because my husband's in a lot of pain and can be quite grumpy. So I think you just default to that.
Absolutely. So you're the yin to the yang that you find in that space. So interesting to capture that. Thank you. Anything else to add on that, Rachel?
No, just that I'm different with different people in the team.
Yes, very good. So the deeper dive you can do on this, the more specific you can get about the individual and where you find yourself, the better your solution's going to be, the better that core process is going to be. And there's a lot of people in your life, so you might just want to focus on one or two for this session, especially if you've only just seen the tool. Kate, let's hear from you. What quadrant did you find yourself in, with whom and why?
So similar to Noelle, I don't actually directly line manage anyone at the moment. But because of my role in HR, there are times where you're trying to support line managers or other employees throughout the organization. And I was just saying that part of the challenge in that as well is that they often come to us and they're hurting, or, because things have gone wrong. And so then, protect is definitely the easier place to be. You're like, I want to fix it. And I'm very solutions focused. So I'm like, right, this is how we can make it work for you. And then literally just this week, I had somebody come to me and I said to her, I was like, look, I'm learning this tool in Altitude about the high support, high challenge matrix. And what you've just described to me is a lot of high support to this person in your team that is struggling. But I haven't, do you think perhaps she might benefit from more challenge? And the line manager got so offended that I would question their leadership style, and has since
so fun.
Yeah, and it's so I clearly hit a nerve. But we're just saying, even in that space, how now I had to go back to responding to that individual because I've clearly upset her. Do I challenge her further to be like, what was that for you? Do I just paper over it and be like, no, I wasn't trying to imply anything. So it's like, when you try and lean into the thing, and I feel say lean into because it's not my natural strength to challenge. And you're like, I thought I did such a brilliant job. I've posed it as an open question. I didn't even say to her, you're not challenging enough. But it just landed so badly that you're like, oh gosh, I'm just going, now I want to go into advocate because
yes.
And I don't want to support you or care.
Got you, Kate. Thank you for sharing that. That is super helpful. I'm going to speak into that just now. But be encouraged. You tried. You tried, okay? And what we're all going to fail through this year. We're going to try loads of things. We're going to make loads of progress, but we're going to also fail, but we're going to fail forward. All right. So be encouraged, like give yourself that support. You did try to liberate right there. And I'll explain one reason why I think, you know, perhaps that might have gone down in the way it did, but there was no intention there. Abby, how about you? One quadrant, if you don't mind, with one person, and why?
Yeah, so this has been really helpful because I took over the team earlier this year, and I've gone from being the same level as everyone in the team to then like stepping up and managing. And the manager we had before was very much a protector, and I didn't realize this. So when I took on the team, we were under the belief from our old manager that we were a high functioning team. And when I took on the team, I was told, you're not a high functioning team. You need to make it a high functioning team. And there are particular issues with particular people that you need to work on. So I've had to challenge people who are not used to that. And it's been really difficult. And I'm not very good at challenging either. My natural instinct is to protect. Like that's where I would sit naturally. So it's been a challenge to me and to them to challenge them. So it kind of has pushed us into this liberate thing, but not in a like it's similar to hate. It's not landed well. And I think because there's been such a culture of like entitlement, that sounds awful, but that's kind of how it is. And definitely when things get difficult like that, I would just slip into abdicate naturally. So I'm having to really push and not do that. Excellent.
Okay, so this is a very real issue now, is how do we move a team that is used to protect and is, you know, has that entitlement quality to it? How do we move them into liberation? Love it. Stuart, just briefly before we drop into core process, could you please do the same? Share which quadrant, who, and why?
Yeah, I would find myself in many occasions hovering somewhere near the middle and switching or oscillating between protect and dominate, depending on mood, depending on emotion. I can think of many occasions when I need somebody to do something for me, and my general instinct is to soften it, is to say, you know, I need X, but maybe I can help with that, or I'm really sorry to ask you to do this. I can maybe extend the deadline or whatever, those types of things, because my instinct is to protect and to preserve harmony. But if my patience is tried and something comes back, it's not what I wanted or not what I envisioned, or it's late or delayed or whatever, I can easily slip into dominate. So I can oscillate between the two. And emotion, I think, is a big part of that. Stress levels are a big part of that. But when all else fails, it's abdicate, it's retreat. Because I'm naturally an introvert, and I go into myself and just like a turtle hide in the shell.
Oh, like a flight function, isn't it? I hear that a lot, and that's brilliant. I love that oscillate word between protect and dominate, which can sound a bit like liberate, because there is some challenge and there is some support, but it's not. It's actually recognizing that you're going in and out of those two quadrants. That's profound, Stuart. Love it. So let's jump back into the tool now, and let's just go around it once more in order to just get a sort of deeper dive. So what I think is happening here, and I've experienced this myself and I've heard about it before, is when you inherit a culture that's protect, and lots of non-profit organizations and Christian organizations, including churches and other charities, are naturally in protect, and they attract people who like the protect quadrant. Because the corporate world cannot, you know, Jeremy gave an example on the videos, can be in the dominate. You know, I want it on my desk at this time. And you get better paid, but actually you don't want that environment to work in. So you think, I'll go and work in non-profit where people are nice. So that can lend itself to the protect quadrant. And when we try to liberate, it will feel to people like dominate. It will feel like dominate unless it is really carefully scripted, really carefully thought through, and we will have to move much more slowly from protect to liberate than we want to. Because once the light bulb goes on for us, we think, oh no, I've not been empowering people. Okay, and because you're lovely, you're like, I want to empower people, so I'm going to start bringing some challenge, but it's going to feel like dominate if they're used to protect. So that's why it's great to actually stop and think about this, to just have the tool ready to actually perhaps decide we're going to do a 3-month sprint in our team on this, to label it very carefully. I did this in an education environment. New headmistress came in, she'd inherited Protect, so she did an inset on support challenge and said, this is how we're going to start showing up from now on. But you need to think it through very carefully. What does it look like? So let me give you a little bit more detail, a little bit more flesh on the bone of what it means to actually bring support and challenge. So how would you describe it? So here are some helpful phrases. Noelle, we did a deep dive on this last week, didn't we, and Kate? So you'll remember this from last week, but hopefully it'll be a helpful reminder. So when we think about support, we think about these aspects. We think about training. Do we tell people to do something they've never done before, but not train them in doing it? That's not very supportive. So do they need some extra training? Do they need resourcing? Do they need some time on this? So do we invest time? I was with a company earlier, and one of the big complaints is the boss schedules one-to-ones and then cancels them on a regular basis. So people don't feel that they have time. And especially if your love language is time, that's going to really hit hard. Giving opportunity is support as well. Do people have opportunity to be involved, to ask questions, to give feedback? Is that there? That feels supportive if it is. And then finally, recognition and appreciation. And that is the praise aspect. Claire's completely right. It's not just praise, but it does include praise. So do we recognize and appreciate what people are doing? Do we celebrate enough? And if we have a perfectionist tendency, or if we're an introvert, chances are we're not celebrating because things aren't perfect, and we're not saying it out loud enough because we're not projecting into the external space what we're thinking. So are we doing all of those things? And perhaps for you, if you think sometimes you aren't bringing support, or you'd like to take your support from good to great, you might want to write down one of those things that you could increase. So pick one of those things from that list that you could increase. So jot that down now, because then you can discuss it in a minute. Okay, let's now think about the challenging aspect. And Claire reminded us earlier that the best type of challenge is rarely critique. We do sometimes need to critique people. We definitely need to critique projects and papers and proposals and programs and all the P's, but we don't want to critique people too much. But sometimes we do, but we will not have to do that very much if we're bringing healthy challenge. So if you hate critique, then bring healthy challenge. That's the way to go about it. So what does healthy challenge look like? Here's a list. Giving direct feedback. So not hinting at feedback, but creating a space where feedback is received. And if you don't have a feedback culture, go easy and think this through. And I know it is something that Vibe Society are really thinking about a lot this year. Next, promoting excellence. So you might have a good colleague, you might have a satisfactory colleague. How do you take them from satisfactory or good to great? So actually show them what it looks like. There's lots of different ways to promote excellence. Showing a good example, creating something that looks really good. When I was a teacher, I'd write a model essay because sometimes people needed to see what excellent looked like in order to know what I was expecting. And then to give them patterns that they could follow, show them something or invite them to see something that you're doing if you're confident you can show excellence. Next is pressure of deadlines. That's a challenge, but 50-50 in humanity, 50% of people are able to just put their own deadlines on things and like to complete, they're completer finishers, and 50% need a deadline to do their best work. If we remove a deadline, then we remove that person's opportunity to get the creative energy they need at the last minute to get the thing over the line. Okay. It reminds me of a caterpillar in a chrysalis, who I read this story that broke my heart about somebody that saw this caterpillar and they could see like movement, flickers of movement in the chrysalis. And they thought, oh, that caterpillar wants to come out. I'm going to help it. And they snipped the top to help the caterpillar come out. And guess what? That caterpillar never came out and graduated into being a butterfly because it needed the struggle of the exit to it be able to fly. And it's the same with people. We generally need the pressure of deadlines, as long as they are healthy, realistic deadlines, to get our best, most creative work out. Certainly 50% do. Next is enforcing accountability. So making sure, enforcing sounds quite a strong word, but actually when you think that accountability makes people able to change, able to take ground, able to be empowered and grow, then it's a really good thing. So to whom are those people accountable for improvement? Is it you? If it's you, then keep those one-to-ones and make sure that you ask those questions that you've said you're going to ask. And then finally, stretch goals. So not just setting a goal is enough, making sure that there is enough of a stretch for someone to be able to grow and change. Otherwise, they get bored and they feel as though you're abdicating from their growth. So there's some ideas for challenge. And when we've got both of those lists going on, and if you go, oh my word, I'm not doing any of those things, just pick one from each line. You probably are, you're just being hard on yourself, but just pick one thing from each of those columns to work on for today. Can you strengthen support? If support's already there, then pick one of the challenge aspects to be able to bring to yourself. Okay, then we need to put it into the core process framework. So what do we do here? Well, we call it, we say, let's just pick one aspect, family, self, or team, and call it, which quadrant am I in with that particular aspect of my life or with that particular person? Which quadrant is it? And then own it. What is contributing to why you're there? Okay, what are you doing or not doing that is contributing to why you're there? So my example is very similar to Noel's earlier. Call it, when I am stressed and anxious, I can dominate my husband, James. I can just be a bit brief, a little bit hard, a bit direct to him. So own it. Why is that happening? It's happening because I'm not bringing myself enough support. Sometimes doing too much. I'm not prioritizing that nap. So Abby said she had a nap. I love a nap, even just a 10 minutes, a switch off, even however much I've got, just going and just having some downtime, bit of a pray, bit of food, making myself a nice drink, just doing those things from time to time. If I get too busy and don't do it, I can show up healthily for everybody else, but then I can be short with James, and that's not okay. I'm not okay with that. So how do I respond? I need to make sure that there's enough time for self-care in my working week. Now, remember, if I leave it there, it's too vague. It's not going to change anything. Execution is the detail. It's the when in particular. When am I going to do this? So it's often involves getting out my diary and scheduling a time. So literally going through my diary and putting in those extra rests. So since I revised the tool this morning, I've started to do that, and I will finish it after this call. I'm going to go through my diary for November, December, and just put in more breaks, more buffers, so that I don't get scheduled to the eyeballs with calls, and then I'm not able to bring the support I want to my family at home. Okay, so that was my whistle-stop tour of a deeper dive on that tool. Hopefully there was something helpful and new for everyone, even those who did the deep dive of the tool live with me last week in Swindon. So any questions there on core process or how to broach the next bit of chat with your breakout room? Any questions? Claire, anything I've missed out or need to be reminded of?
No, one thing I will just say that I said to Abby was one of my favourite quotes that comes from one of the other modalities that I work with is maximum growth occurs at the border of support and challenge. And that doesn't have to be necessarily straight linear, but that quadrant is going to keep moving if you have the right amount of support and challenge as you go.
Very good. Yeah, love it. Thank you. Maximum growth. That's what we're looking for. But that might take a while to move up to, is what you're saying. Love it. Right. Could you drop us into a breakout, Claire?
Yep.
So we're core processing here. Pick one aspect or one person. How can you move to liberate with that person and use the core process to help you? See you in a minute.
When I had it hadn't gone particularly well, and then other people would say, oh, this person's done brilliantly, they've really helped with this, this and this, and I was like, great, but they haven't done what I've asked them to do. And it was like that kind of, I was kind of like through gritted teeth telling them like, you've done really well on this, but actually I just let that go and be much better at recognition and appreciation. But the helpful thing with challenge is the promoting excellence thing, because the team already think they're excellent, actually being able to say, this is what excellent looks like, and working on that together. What do you think excellence looks like? And then let's kind of put it like a document together, and then work towards that as a team. I think that's a good thing to do. And also deadlines. There's a particular person in my team who needs deadlines, and I never give them because I know he's never going to meet them. So I need to actually give them, because I think that might help.
Really good. And again, it's sort of making sure that's that you're saying, you're signposting that's changing.
Yeah.
That I know in the past, take responsibility. I know in the past I haven't, made sure that you hit the deadlines, but I'm going to start doing that now. So almost give them a deadline for when the deadlines kick in. It's just going more carefully than you want to.
Yeah.
But that's brilliant, Abby. Well done. And well done for doing the challenging work and taking on the team. It's hard to take on a team that's been in Protect. Rachel, you were really enjoying Abby's comments there. So let's go to you next. Did you have a point that you have come to that you can change, an execution point?
So I'm very similar to Abby in that I've taken on a team that I was a peer with. So I said I'm going to focus on challenging and celebrating by promoting excellence. So taking something from each person, hopefully, that I can share, but also sharing things that other people are doing that they may not be aware of.
Yeah.
And also supporting with time, because I'm saying a lot of my team are only in 1 day a week. Mm-hmm. And so to come up with a plan for their area was actually quite a big ask. So I felt like if I support them with some time and ideas to promote in their areas, rather than expecting them to do it all.
Really good. So actually you collaborating on their plan with them, giving them some time.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe online to do it together. That's helpful. Yeah, that's a theme I've heard so far from Abby and Rachel, is collaborate with your team to try to improve and to try to say what excellence is and what good looks like. It's a good way of doing it. Katie, let's go to you next. Do you have a key point?
I'm trying to remember what my example was now. Oh, yes. I said, because I feel like I'm a bit of a peacekeeper. I don't like confrontation. One of my things I'm going to call is, rather than staying in the Protect area for too long, mention something earlier, or bring forward a challenge or a conversation earlier, so that it doesn't, because I know and probably notice this more so at home than at work.
Yeah.
I don't like confrontation within family or anything. So I will often just kind of think, I'll just protect it. I'll keep it inward. And then it will just all come out in one big blur.
Yes.
Like I Hulk out, if we talk about I'm green. So I probably need to challenge myself to think, well, it's actually okay to bring a criticism, or a challenge, but in a kind way, and do it earlier, because it's healthier for me and them.
Excellent, Katie. And that's a reminder, you greens and yellows, when you bring challenge, you do it really well. I would rather have a challenge come from a healthy green or yellow than come from anyone else, because you're going to do it kindly. So please do it. Do it for your own sake, so you don't end up getting to that place where you Hulk out, because that's always horrible for you. But also do it for them, because they would rather have it from you than have to learn it down the line. So at home with kids, spoiled kids, if you spoil your kid, it spoils adulthood for them, because sooner or later someone won't take them operating in an entitled way. And then it's hard. It's much harder for them then. So I'm saying that to encourage you that actually it's supportive to bring challenge earlier and in the way that you will do it, which is kindly. So well done. That's great. Stuart, over to you.
Yeah. I think, well, the example I gave was from personal life, really. An example that I went through and learnt from and then repeat in other areas, which is I will give myself very high expectations and no support. And when I say support, I'm equating that, maybe rightly or wrongly, with what I might call systems. There's no system in place to meet that goal. So weight loss for me it has been and continues to be a journey, but I would tend to go into sort of a pretty radical or harsh diet, and it would succeed for a short term, but I'd have no support system there, no system whatsoever to keep it sustainable, and then I'd fall off and put all the weight back on again. I've learned to do something which is longer, more sustainable, slower, but ultimately more healthy. But then I don't replicate that in other areas. So I have extremely high expectations of myself when it comes to setting exercise targets or in my prayer life or whatever, and I'll bite off more than I can chew. I don't give myself the system to actually support the goal. So that's what I want to do, and I'm evaluating those things again at the moment in my own life. So I will be sure to put systems in place and moderate the goals, so that they are stretch goals, but attainable goals, this side of the next millennium.
Excellent. Well, I mean, it starts with scheduling. So even if you're not ready to schedule the system, schedule thinking about the system. Put in your diary a time when you're going to sit down and think about what you might, or research what system you might use for a particular place. So that would be a great next step, is just put something in the diary. Kate, over to you. We're going to the left in the room.
I was just saying that my specific thing is at home, and it largely arises because I have these quite high expectations or high challenge in my head for my husband, but I never really tell them. I expect him to know what they are without me having communicated them. So I was just kind of realizing like that kind of was what leads to the frustration. So just being more clear, more explicit, and then and coming alongside more to kind of make sure that things are being done to the way, because sometimes you can't always explain it. So just I just realized that a lot of the frustration comes like the challenge is high in my head and Chris has no idea that this is a priority whatsoever. So yeah, just kind of a communication issue largely I think for that.
That's really good. So I was with someone this morning who is yellow, and Kate, you're yellow, is that right?
Certainly on insights I'm a yellow blue, and then my voices one came out more specifically was my lowest, so I'm like, I don't really know. I definitely have a lot of yellow,
and yellow's hint at challenge, and think everyone's heard it because they're good at picking up on hints, but not everyone is good at picking up on hints. So it's one to say, so saying it clearly and bringing some detail to it or an example to it is helpful. So that's great. Well done. Thank you, everybody, for sharing so specifically and helpfully. You're getting good each time. You're getting better at the core process and sort of coming in to land on something. Claire, anything from you as we end?
My button then. I think we all just need to remember, probably back to part of your quote, not just speak the truth in love, but speak challenge in love and support in love as well.
Thank you so much. Love conquers all, but love isn't to just bring support, and I think that's something I think the church is learning as well, and Bible Society. You're at the forefront really of Christian culture right now. It's incredibly exciting to be time, and you're an incredibly exciting organisation to be part of. I know there's lots of change going on, and that can be painful as well, but they're incredible people. You are examples right here of incredible people that are involved in Bible Society, so I'm delighted that you're there. So keep going. 2 more tools to do before we meet again in 2 weeks' time. They're really good ones, and they build very much on what we've done so far in terms of people and how we're showing up with people intentionally or accidentally. So do go and do the sessions, and hang on if you've got any questions. Otherwise, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.